so this is definitely a new territory for me to try out. I originally wanted to do a review type of video on this game, but that has been done to death, so here's something nobody has done yet. A tier list, but not for the main characters, the side characters, since these fellas don't get enough praise for how great of a cast most of them are. And this is coming from someone who has recently replayed it after so long, completing everything, exploring every nook and cranny of the game, and even 100% the game to get this fancy little weapon, so you know. Yippee! Also, spoiler warning ahead, I suggest playing the game first to understand who these characters are to get an understanding of why they are in these tiers. Now the tiers are boiled down to this. Characters in D tier are characters that have no personality, a very unlikable personality, or some sort of redeeming personality. C tier are characters that do have some sort of niche personality. B tier being characters that are the middle bunch, having a good personality while leaving a good impression. A tier being great characters that you do see often while enjoying a conversation with them, and finally S tier, this being the biggest highlight for anyone playing Night in the Woods. So let's start in the D tier. Let's start by adding the one character that no one remembers, that being Judge Janice. I don't remember anything of them, they never said a single word in the game, they weren't the main focus in the scene itself, and you don't see it ever again after the scene is done, making them the most forgettable character in the game. Coming off of them is the Harvest Kid. Other than the fact that they were kidnapped, we know next to nothing of this character. Moving on, next is Lil Joe. Next is Clarity Bertie. They're not a real character, but rather a fictional one from a series of children's books, from Clarity Bertie, Danger Every Rarity, to Clarity Bertie Learns to Charity, and so on and so forth until they all start to sound the same. Next is quote, douchebag guitar player. Only reason he's here is because of Meg and Greg calling him a douche for his guitar tunes. Next is Mr. Patterson, one of May's neighbors. This guy always comes off as unlikable to May no matter what the situation is, so it's only fitting to put him here for giving very little respect towards May. Next is Steve Scruggins. Best way to describe him is slimy but reliable, but also unlikable as well. Next is Mr. Santalo, the father of B. Santalo. The overall impression you do get from him is not quite a good one to begin with, and it only gets worse from there. Next is Jackie. Best way to describe them is irritatingly rude towards May, and they stay like that towards May for the whole game. Next is... this is his name? Okay then. Trolley Side News Manager, or as I like to call him, Pretzel Guy. Now when you do meet him, it starts good, but then goes 180 once he does realize who May is, saying, once a thief, always a thief, and then bang May. Next is the Harleys. The triplets, I think they do see near the start of the game. Not much is very known about them other than what seniors say about them. They have a knack of stealing things, and that's all I can think of related to them. Next is Miss Miranda. Other than the fact that she is one of the few old people you do meet in the game, she's one of the weaker ones since there's very little to go off of with her. Next are the Tunnel Teens. Not much can also be said about them other than they just exist and being rude. Next is the Librarian. She just exists, and that's all I can say about her. Next is the U Revolution Store Clerk. Other than her movie impression, that's really it with her. So moving on. Next is Leo Outpost 2 Night Shift Employee. Other than her talk about seeing cute guys and dealing with babies, there's nothing really memorable about her. Next is the Newspaper Guy. Next is Garbo and Malloy. Now, Garbo and Malloy is a late night TV show that both May and her dad watch together at the end of each day. The show covers a multitude of topics from current events and politics to personal stories. Outside that catchy theme, I don't really find them that interesting, but maybe that's because I don't find them that charming. So they're staying down here. Next is Sharkle. Next is the Black Goat. This thing is the main reason behind May's strange dreams, which the dreams themselves are pretty cool, but in personality, it says one cryptic thing and then disappears. Not a lot to go off of. Next is the Sky Cat. Unlike the Black Goat, this thing does have a personality, but kinda dips after meeting him for the first time, never to be seen again. Thanks, Dick. Next is Jen, who's Greg's cousin. Other than her design, there's not much that I can recall about her. Next is Mr. Trigmayer, also one of May's neighbors, but one more the nicer one compared to Mr. Patterson. Too bad you only see him twice in the game. Oh well. Next is Miss Krause. Apparently in the cut content of the game, she was meant to have a bigger role, but that didn't happen, and we got this version of her, which only appears once. And she's alright. Not much to go off on. Next is Cole. Now, on the surface, Cole seems like a decent dude. Really nice guy at best. But then through a certain part of Night in the Woods, you then understand why May has such a hard time interacting with him. So down here he goes. The final one in D tier is going to be Streetlight Worker. Now you do tend to see this guy every now and then at the early part of the game. Not much is very memorable of him other than this quote right here. On to the C tier. Starting at the bottom of C tier is Bill, a minor character that works at the Old Pickaxe, who's also an old folk, but just like Miss Miranda, there's not much to go off with him, since he only does appear twice in the game, not leaving a strong impact. Next is Aunt Molly, or Aunt Molcop, as May tends to call her. She is the second character that you do meet by pure coincidence. Other than appearing every now and then for the story part of the game, there's not much to be said in terms of personality. Next are the Kickstarter backer characters, which there is a total of 19 of them in the game. I might be wrong, but that's as many as the tier list has shown. Now, I'll put them all together since you only do see them once, and each of them having their own unique type of personality. From the way they talk, from the way they're designed, you're bound to at least remember one of them. Next is Casey. From what has been said from the main cast and everyone else in Possum Springs, he would have been a neat guy to talk and hang out with. Next is the City Council. Most of the time that you do see them is them bickering, arguing on what would be a good idea to attract new businesses, to help them make Possum Springs be popular again, just like in the past. But that's basically their entire personality, just arguing. Next are the thoroughly whirly teens, or as I like to call them, the Gawk teens. These three will appear during the middle part of the game, near the end of the church area, and you can tell if you're near them with this theme you're listening to right now in the background. In terms of personality, they first started being cryptic and mysterious as they could before slowly dropping the act near the end of the game and start being, you know, teens. Next is Germ's father. Now you do see him early on in the game next to the Streetlight Worker, but his personality does shine when you do finally get the chance to talk to him when he's not at work. An overall chill guy. Next is the Bird. Next is Bombshell. She is a one-time character, but she does leave behind a very strong first impression. Next are the Crusties. These are drifters or hobos that tend to hop from train to train and stop at Possum Springs every now and then. Some being forgettable, but some also being somewhat memorable. Next is the Telesoft employees. A bit similar to the City Council, but their personality is more than just arguing, so that's always an improvement over the Council. Next is Germ's grandma, an ominous old folk that is mostly poetic, seemingly knows a lot about May even though this is the first time May has encountered her, ending with her just joking around, which doesn't help May out. Next is the Deep Hollow Hollowers, or the DHH for short. These guys appear in May's dreams without saying a word, but showing big pieces of Possum Springs history, each member playing a different instrument, from the violin, to the saxophone, to the tuba, and finally, the accordion. Not a lot is known about them other than the tracks are played by them, from Astral Train to Astral Fish to Astral Cold Town and finally Astral Alley. Next is the Gravedigger. You first come across him when investigating for ghosts with B. He's a one-time character, but the conversation with him is both short and sweet, and he's also a wedding DJ as a side gig. Next is both Germ's mom and uncle, both of them being friendly, with the mother being helpful while the uncle being more playful. Next is Danny. Danny is an unemployed worker looking for any kind of job that tends to end with him being fired at the end of the week. At the end of the game, we see him working as a taco artisan, so it all works out in the end. Yippee! Now the final one in C tier is going to be the janitor. The janitor is the first person that you do meet in the game. At first, he seems to be mundane, but then slowly becomes more mysterious when you do get to see him every now and then, leaving more questions than answers when it's all said and done. Now for B tier. Starting at the bottom of B tier is Miss Rosa. Rosa is someone you see hanging around in the trolley tunnels near the trolley side news. She has a kind of friendly personality towards May and will tell May all sorts of stories when both Rose and May's grandfather did back when they were younger. Next is Rabies. Rabies can be found doing Germ's friendship quest. Not much can be said about them other than being a cool wild version of a pet. Next is Mr. Salvi. Mr. Salvi is a one-time character that you will see on day 9 of the game in the trolley tunnels. If you interact with him, he will let you join and grab whatever unique junk that looks cool, as long as you can handle the lights to deal with the bats, since he does have tryptophobia, a phobia of bats. Next are the Smelter fans. These minor characters have nothing to do with the story other than being in front of the millers shouting "Go Smelters," until the second last day, where one of the Smelter fans will get a new job and move out of town before the epilogue, leaving the only other fan alone outside of the miller's store. So that's depressing to see. Next is both Sadie and Salem. You first meet these two in two different locations, with Salem on the rooftops playing his violin and Sadie in the abandoned ballroom playing her saxophone. Only by convincing one of them can make the two musicians be playing together on the stage. Thanking May for making that duo happen, and during the epilogue, you can see the two playing their music together in the trolley tunnels. Next is Fisherman Jones. You will often see this guy near the entrance of the trolley tunnels, fishing for tunnelfish while reciting short poems about the tunnelfish to himself. Next is May's grandfather. Now, not much can be said about him in the main game other than at the beginning where May describes him being in his deathbed, turns his head to the window, then turns his head to his son's stand, with his last words being, "This house is haunted," and dies. But if you were to play The Lost Constellation, which is in the extras in the main menu, you get an idea on who he is that isn't so grim. From what he is like in The Lost Constellation, and what Miss Rosa would say, he's a kind and quiet person, but is also slightly impatient and sarcastic, but has other people's interests at heart, similar to May. Speaking of May, if you were to talk to Candy every day and do all of her side story, she will let you into the church library, where you will see his ghost/spirit visiting May, silently watching over his granddaughter while May takes a nap. It's a really sweet moment to see. Next is Stan Bobrowski, the father of May Bobrowski. He is a goofy person you will often see on the couch watching Garbo and Malloy after a day of work at Ham Panther. Both him and May are very close, with them usually telling jokes to each other. Next is Varney. Varney is often one of the neighbors you do come across when heading to town. He usually threatens anyone that does anything to his property, but other than that, he's generally an amicable and friendly individual, but not worrying about it, and even cracks jokes with his neighbors, usually at their own expense. Finally, the first spot in B tier goes to Mr. Chetakov. Mr. Chetakov is one of May's old teachers, and May is one of his worst students, but his favorite one as well. But back to Chetakov. He's a jolly guy that you tend to see on the rooftops looking for dusk stars. What are dusk stars, you may ask? Well, dusk stars are described as wandering stars that only appear for a few weeks in the spring and fall, and they are only visible due to a trick of the atmosphere and the light of the setting sun. That's why you need his telescope to see them. Next up is A tier. Starting at the bottom of A tier is Bruce, a nice, simple, friendly dude who you usually see near the middle of both the church and the cliff. The conversations that you do have with him is always interesting to see unfold. Seeing him talk about his past, seeing that he was originally from Possum Springs, worked many jobs back in the 70s, then drifted to other places, but found himself back in Possum Springs for a while after a string of bad luck. Next is Seamers. Seamers is one of May's neighbors that you do often come across when heading into town. If you talk to her often, she will let you hear poets, with them being different each day. I won't list them out, since that would take forever, but if you do get the chance to hear them out, do think they are pretty neat. Next is Pastor Kate, or Pastor K, or just Kate for short. Kate is someone you see at the church who's actively trying to help Bruce out, even though her request to help Bruce out often gets declined by the city council, slowly making her question her own faith in God, a different contrast compared to when you do meet her for the first time. Finally, the top of A tier goes to Kenny Bobrowski, the mother of May Bobrowski. She's a sweet, kind-hearted person that you often see her reading all kinds of dark and creepy novels, something both her and May often bond over. You will often see her at the start of the day in the kitchen reading a book or be the receptionist at the church. Finally, S tier. With all that being said, any one of these two characters can easily take the number one spot for how great of a character they are. It all comes down to personal opinion on who takes the spot. For me, the person taking the second spot is going to be Jeremy Wharton, or as everyone has called him, Germ. When you first meet Germ, it starts off weird/awkward since both him and May have very little in common, but once you do get to talk to him every day, that awkwardness slowly becomes more of a uniqueness to him, and you'll want to know more about the things he tends to do and the shenanigans he does get himself into. Appreciating the little things, making it feel like there's always something happening in Possum Springs when you least expect it, which is complete opposite to what the person who is in first place believes. And the one who's in first place is Lori M. Lori is everything I love about all the side characters packed into one. When you do meet Lori for the first time, May will be annoyed by her calling her Killer, but slowly over time, she drops the Killer name and starts calling her by her real name. The more you start to hang out with her, the more you be infested with her character. She's a quiet person who is a big fan of horror movies and dreams that one day she can be a makeup artist for one. I can't help but just root for her and hope she can succeed with her dreams. And that should be the tier list. This should be everyone. I would love to hear your opinion on it, what should be better, what characters should have been higher or lower. But until then, see ya.